Hello everyone and welcome to this kit analysis and build guide for Yasuko Kitagawa aka Fox. He's an ice damage dealer that deals AoE damage. His playstyle is centered around his ability to counterattack, and all of his skills deal damage based on his defense instead of attack stat. Whenever he takes damage, he has a chance to launch a counterattack against the foe that attacked him. This is quite inconsistent since he needs to be targeted by the enemy, which limits his capabilities if the enemies use a lot of single target attacks, and on top of that, even if he's attacked, there's a chance the counter won't trigger. Thankfully, he has ways to guarantee the activation of his counter through his skill 3 and highlight, but even with those he won't be able to guarantee the activation of his counter for the whole fight. His skill 1 is by far his worst skill, but it's guaranteed to inflict freeze on one enemy, which can have its uses if you have trouble staying alive. But in most scenarios you would rather use his skill 2 just because it does more damage, so you can save some resources by not upgrading his first skill. His third skill has a cooldown of 1 turn, so you can't always use it. But it's by far his best skill, so you want to use it every time it's available. It turns Yasuko's next counter into an enhanced version that not only deals more damage, it also makes it AoE. On top of that, it will give him a shield and make him immune to most interruption, and to finish it will also make him taunt the enemies for 2 turns, so as long as you always use this skill when available, his taunt will be active for the while fight, completely sheltering the rest of your team from single target attacks and making it more likely that Yasuko will counter since every attack will hit him. His highlight deals damage to all enemies, but more importantly, it will make his counter guaranteed to trigger for 3 turns. His first talent gives him a damage buff whenever he gets a shield. He needs to get 3 shields per turn to keep this buff at max value, which can be doable easily with his best team, but you'll lose some stacks if that's not the case. And his second talent will increase his pierce rate every time he uses his skill 3, since it's his only skill that gives him a shield. So due to the skill's cooldown, it's impossible to keep this buff for the whole fight, but at least it's active when he uses his enhanced counter, so it's more than enough. All of his awareness are pretty decent. His A1 makes him launch a follow-up attack whenever he uses his skill 3 2 times, but it won't activate that much due to the skill's cooldown. His A2 and A4 increase counterattack damage, which is most of his damage, so they're nice to have. But his best ones is undoubtedly his A6, which basically doubles the damage of his counterattack, but obviously getting to A6 is unrealistic for most people, and the other ones are nice but not necessary. His best card set is Meditation and Opulence, to increase ice damage and counterattack damage. But Acceptance and Peace is a decent alternative. It gives less damage but makes up for it with more survivability, which he doesn't really need, to be honest, but it's nice to have options. For main stats you want to go for attack multiple, crit rate and defense. And for substats you want crit rate, crit multiple, pierce rate and defense. His best teammate is by far Yuki, due to her being the only defense buffer in the game. She can also give shields but only to one ally, which is gonna be Fox in most cases. He can easily tank any attacks that comes his way, but Yuki's sustaining capabilities are really bad if the enemies use a lot of AoE attacks. So Wonder and Puppet will have to cover for her in this aspect. For your support slot, your only options are Rin and Riddle, since attack buffs are useless on Fox. But worst case scenario, if you don't have them, you can still make use of Leon's crit damage buff. The best navigator for him is obviously Puppet for her shields and defense buff. You can also use him with Mont, but only in palaces and mementos to be able to kill ice-weak enemies quickly. They can't work well together in scoring content due to the fact that they want different buffs, and one of them is single target while the other is AoE. You will also want some specific personas on Wonder due to Fox's specific needs. Of course, he still wants crit rate, so Succubus still works well with him. But early game Asperas is better for him since she buffs both crit rate and defense at once. And Principality buffs defense whenever he heals. At rank 4 you can use Belphegor, mostly to have access to the debuff highlight since his debuffs are single target. The real prize at this rank is Mithras, who has access to Matarukaja, and will give another defense buff whenever he uses it thanks to his talent. At rank 6, just like all other AoE damage dealers, Surt's access to Maracunda is really valuable. And Norn's shield has a chance to apply both Windswept and a defense debuff when you get attacked. Finally, at rank 7 you get access to the best persona for Fox, King Frost, who gives a shield, defense, and an ice damage buff in a single move. As well as Dionysus for crit rate and crit damage. For his dagger you want to use All In, for its permanent defense buff, and to increase Wonder's shields and healing to make up for Yuki's low sustaining capabilities. Alright, with all that said, is it worth it to summon for Yusuke? Although he can be really strong in the right environment and with the right team and build. The fact that almost nobody has reached Wonder level 80 means that our units aren't fully upgraded, and most people haven't even started building their revelation cards. Most damage dealers can circumvent this by sharing their cards since all other damage dealers scales off attack, but Fox can't since he scales of defense, so he needs cards built specifically for him, which is a huge resource investment that most people can't really afford right now. He's also really limited for his team building option due to his inability to use attack buffs. This is already annoying now, but will get worse and worse as more supports get released and Fox won't be able to use most of them. And finally, there's also the fact that we already have an ice damage dealer available. Obviously they fill different roles since Fox is an AoE character, but it's better to save your resources since the next character to come out will be Makoto. And unlike Ice, we don't have any other nuclear damage dealer in the game to replace her. That's it for this video. Please like and subscribe, and don't hesitate to comment any feedback or questions you may have. Goodbye and see you soon.